Discipline over motivation is the foundation of any lasting success because motivation is fleeting while discipline is permanent. Motivation rises and falls with emotion, with the circumstances of the day, with how you feel when you wake up in the morning. Discipline, on the other hand, is not concerned with feelings. It does not ask if you are tired or discouraged. It simply requires that you show up and do what must be done. That is why consistency wins every time. The people who achieve greatness are not the ones who wait for inspiration. They are the ones who build a rhythm of discipline that carries them forward even when inspiration has long disappeared. Think about it this way. Motivation is like the spark that starts a fire, but discipline is the wood that keeps it burning through the night. Without discipline, the flame goes out, and you are left in darkness. With discipline, even when the winds of doubt and distraction blow against you, the fire remains steady because it has something solid to rest upon. This is why discipline always outlasts motivation. Discipline is not a feeling, it is a decision. It is a choice you make daily to commit to the work, to the vision, to the standard you set for yourself. In life, excuses will always come. You will always find reasons to delay, to avoid, to wait for the perfect time. But those reasons are nothing more than illusions. Discipline strips away those illusions. It says, I don't need perfect conditions. I don't need to feel ready. I don't need to wait for inspiration. I will move forward because my destiny demands it. That is the power of discipline. It breaks through resistance and makes action non-negotiable. And when action becomes non-negotiable, results become inevitable. Consistency is built on this foundation. Every day you show up, every day you practice, every day you take one step forward, you are laying down bricks for a future that cannot be shaken. The person who relies on motivation alone will take a few steps forward when the feeling is high, then stop when it fades. The person who relies on discipline will keep moving, slow or fast, rain or shine, tired or strong. And in time, that steady pace creates results so massive that those who relied on bursts of motivation cannot comprehend how it was done. Discipline also creates identity. When you practice consistency, you begin to see yourself differently. You are no longer someone who tries, you are someone who does. You are no longer someone who starts and stops, you are someone who follows through. And that shift in identity is powerful because identity drives behavior. When you believe you are disciplined, when you believe you are consistent, your actions naturally align with that belief. You no longer fight with yourself over every decision. You act in accordance with who you are becoming. There will be days when you don't feel like it. There will be days when everything inside of you screams to quit, to rest, to delay. But discipline teaches you to move anyway. It teaches you that feelings are temporary, but results are permanent. The pain of discipline lasts for a moment, but the pain of regret lasts for a lifetime. Consistency frees you from that regret. Because you know you gave your best. You know you followed through. You know you honored the vision inside of you. Discipline is not punishment, it is freedom. Freedom from the roller coaster of emotions. Freedom from the trap of procrastination. Freedom from the weight of unfulfilled potential. When you are disciplined, you are no longer a prisoner to how you feel in the moment. You are guided by something higher, your vision, your values, your purpose. And that freedom is what allows you to build wealth, to build health, to build relationships, to build a legacy that lasts far beyond you. Consistency is the proof of discipline. Anybody can act once, anybody can work hard for a week, anybody can show up when it's convenient. But consistency is showing up when it is inconvenient, when it is painful, when it is uncomfortable. And it is in those moments that greatness is forged. Because consistency compounds. One workout doesn't transform your body, one sale doesn't build your business, one kind act doesn't change your relationship. But repeated day after day, those small actions build momentum, and momentum becomes mastery. This is why discipline must come before motivation. Because motivation might start you, but discipline finishes you. Motivation might inspire you to dream, but discipline makes the dream real. Motivation might give you excitement, but discipline gives you results. And when you commit to discipline, you no longer have to rely on fleeting emotions to carry you. You carry yourself with the strength of your choices, the clarity of your purpose, and the consistency of your actions. In 2025, the people who win will not be the ones who are the most motivated for a few weeks. They will be the ones who built the habits, the routines, the disciplines that carried them through the entire year. They will be the ones who did not stop when the feeling faded, who did not fold when resistance came, who did not bow when the weight grew heavy. They will be the ones who trusted the process, honored the grind, and stayed consistent until the results appeared. So make the decision now. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting to feel ready. Choose discipline. Choose consistency. Choose to show up day after day. even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when no one is watching. Because every act of discipline is a seed planted in the soil of your future. And when those seeds grow, when the harvest comes, you will look back and realize that every moment of discipline, every act of consistency built the life you were destined to live. The hidden power of daily habits is one of the greatest forces shaping your life, whether you realize it or not. Every choice you make each day, no matter how small, is like a brick being laid in the foundation of your future. The challenge is that most people underestimate the impact of those small bricks. They think their success will be determined by one big moment, one breakthrough opportunity, one stroke of luck. But in reality, the course of your life is being determined not by what you do once in a while, but by what you do every single day without fail. Your habits are the invisible architects of your destiny. They work in silence, either building you up or breaking you down. If you develop habits that align with your goals, then each day you are compounding progress, little by little, until the results become undeniable. If you fall into destructive habits, then each day you are drifting further away from who you want to become, often without even noticing. That is why habits are so powerful. They do not ask for permission. They work in the background, shaping your outcomes, reinforcing your identity, dictating your trajectory. Think about how wealth is built. It is not created by one massive payday. It is created by consistent investments, compounded over time. In the same way, a strong body is not built by one workout, but by consistent training. A strong mind is not built by one book, but by consistent learning. A strong character is not built by one good deed, but by consistent choices that align with integrity. Daily habits are the compound interest of success. What feels small today becomes massive over time. What feels insignificant in the moment becomes monumental in the long run. The danger is that the same principle works in the opposite direction. Skipping one workout may not seem like a big deal. Eating one unhealthy meal may not seem like it matters. Procrastinating on one project may feel harmless. But when those choices repeat, when they become habits, they create momentum in the wrong direction. And just like positive habits compound into success, negative habits compound into failure. That is why awareness is so important. You cannot afford to live on autopilot. You must examine your habits and ask yourself, are these leading me closer to my vision or pulling me further away? Daily habits are also powerful because they shape your identity. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you reinforce the belief that you are disciplined, that you are capable, that you are someone who follows through. And every time you break a small promise, you reinforce the opposite belief. Identity is not formed by what you claim, but by what you consistently do. If you want to see yourself as strong, as focused, as successful, then you must build the habits that align with that identity. Because over time, those habits will not just create results, they will create the version of you who naturally produces those results. It is also worth noting that habits remove the need for constant decision-making. When you make discipline automatic through habit, you no longer waste energy debating whether you should act. You simply do. You no longer ask yourself if you should work out. You work out because it is your habit. You no longer debate whether you should invest in yourself. You learn daily because it is your habit. This frees your mind to focus on higher level decisions and keeps you from falling into the trap of hesitation and procrastination. Habits transform the extraordinary into the ordinary so that what once felt difficult becomes your default way of living. But the hidden power of daily habits is not just in the results they bring, it is in the person they require you to become. When you commit to small disciplines every day, you train yourself to value process over outcome. You train yourself to love growth more than instant gratification. You learn patience, endurance, and resilience. And those qualities are the real treasures because they equip you to face challenges, setbacks, and obstacles with strength. Success is never just about what you achieve, it is about who you become in the process. And habits are the daily chisels that sculpt that person. In 2025, the difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck will not be talent alone. It will not be intelligence alone. It will not be opportunities alone. It will be habits. Because in a world full of distractions, the ones who can build daily disciplines will separate themselves. The ones who can master their mornings, control their focus, and commit to growth every day will be the ones who lead, the ones who excel, the ones who leave a legacy. The world will not reward you for what you intend to do. It will reward you for what you consistently do. And that consistency comes from daily habits. So ask yourself, what habits are you practicing today that are building the future you want tomorrow? Are you feeding your mind with wisdom or drowning it in noise? Are you feeding your body with strength or weakening it with neglect? Are you feeding your spirit with purpose or starving it with distractions? Your answers will reveal the trajectory of your life. And if you do not like that trajectory, the good news is you have the power to change it, not by grand gestures, but by small, consistent habits practiced daily. The hidden power of daily habits is that they make the extraordinary possible through ordinary actions. They take dreams out of the clouds and anchor them into daily reality. They bridge the gap between who you are now and who you want to become. And when you master them, you no longer chase success. Success becomes a natural byproduct of the person you are becoming each day. Because success is not something you pursue, it is something you attract by the habits you commit to. If you want a different life, build different habits. If you want to grow, build growth habits. If you want wealth, build wealth habits. If you want health, build health habits. If you want influence, build influence habits. The hidden power of daily habits is that they do not just change your results, they change your destiny. And the moment you take that seriously, the moment you stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline into your daily life, you unlock a future far greater than anything you thought possible. Breaking through excuses and resistance is one of the greatest battles every human being must face if they truly want to create change in their life. Because the truth is, the loudest enemy is not always outside of you, it is within you. It is the voice that says you are too tired, too busy, too late, too unprepared. It is the whisper that convinces you to wait until tomorrow, to delay your action, to play it safe. And the more you listen to that voice, the more it grows. But the moment you challenge it, the moment you refuse to accept those excuses as truth, you begin to unlock the kind of strength that most people never discover. Excuses are clever because they disguise themselves as reasonable explanations. They sound logical, they sound protective, they make you feel safe for not moving forward. But what they really are is a shield that keeps you comfortable and stuck at the same time. Resistance works the same way. It shows up every time you get close to progress. It makes you feel the weight of procrastination, the heaviness of fear, the burden of self-doubt. Resistance is proof that you are on the edge of growth. Because if there was no growth on the other side, there would be no resistance standing in the way. The danger is when you start treating excuses as truth. When you tell yourself you cannot because you do not have enough time, you are not acknowledging a fact, you are accepting a limitation. When you tell yourself you cannot because you do not have the money, you are not describing reality, you are deciding to stop. When you tell yourself you cannot because it is too late, you are not honoring your circumstances, you are surrendering to fear. Excuses become chains the moment you believe them, and the longer you live with them, the heavier they get. Breaking through excuses begins with taking ownership. Ownership means you stop blaming circumstances, people, or timing. You recognize that no matter what happens around you, you are responsible for what you do with it. That does not mean life is fair. That does not mean the playing field is equal. But it does mean that as long as you are alive, you have power, and excuses steal that power from you. When you take ownership, you take back control. You stop asking what someone else could have done for you, and you start asking what you can do with what you have right now. Resistance, on the other hand, can only be broken with action. You cannot outthink resistance, you cannot outwish resistance, you cannot outpray resistance. The only way to defeat resistance is to move forward in spite of it. That means showing up when you do not feel like it. That means doing the work even when your mind tells you to wait. That means pushing through the discomfort long enough to create momentum. Resistance loses its power once you start moving because action creates evidence, and evidence silences excuses. When you take one small step, you begin to prove to yourself that you can. And once you prove it, you create the courage to take the next. The deeper reason excuses and resistance are so powerful is because they feed on fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of wasting your time, fear of what others will think. Fear of not being good enough. But here's the truth. Those fears will never leave if you wait for them to disappear. They only shrink when you walk through them. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward while fear is still present. And the moment you start practicing courage, you discover that the fear was never as strong as you imagined. Most of the limits you believe are permanent walls are nothing but paper-thin barriers waiting for you to step through. In 2025, the people who will rise above the noise, the people who will stand out, will not be the ones who had the easiest path, the best resources, or the smoothest circumstances. They will be the ones who refuse to let excuses and resistance dictate their story. They will be the ones who faced the same fears as everyone else but decided to act anyway. They will be the ones who traded their excuses for execution, because the world does not reward what you could have done, it rewards what you actually do. And what you actually do is determined by how well you conquer your resistance. There is another hidden danger to excuses. They not only stop you from moving forward, they also damage your identity. Every time you believe an excuse, you reinforce the idea that you are powerless. Every time you give in to resistance, you strengthen the belief that you cannot handle pressure. But every time you break through an excuse, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than you thought. Every time you take action against resistance, you build evidence that you are capable of more. Identity is not created by what you hope to be, it is created by what you consistently do. That is why each small breakthrough matters, because each one shapes the kind of person you are becoming. Breaking through excuses also requires clarity. If you do not know what you want, excuses will always win, because the mind will naturally take the path of least resistance when it has no clear direction. But when you lock onto a vision, when you define a purpose bigger than your comfort, you suddenly have leverage against your excuses. You have a reason to fight. You have a standard to uphold. Vision makes the pain of resistance worth enduring. Without vision, resistance feels like a wall. With vision, resistance feels like a stepping stone. That is why clarity is not optional. It is fuel for perseverance. At the core, breaking through excuses and resistance is not just about achieving goals. It is about honoring the potential that was placed inside of you. It is about refusing to waste your gift on the sidelines of fear. It is about stepping into the kind of life that only reveals itself when you decide to move forward despite the discomfort. Excuses tell you to wait, resistance tells you to stop, but destiny tells you to move. And if you have the courage to listen to that inner call, you will find yourself living at levels you once thought impossible. So today, ask yourself what excuses you have been repeating and what resistance you have been obeying. Write them down, call them out, and then take one bold action that contradicts them. It does not have to be massive, it just has to be real. Because once you take that step, you break the cycle. You prove to yourself that you can act in spite of fear. And once you taste that kind of power, you will never settle for excuses again. You will learn that resistance was not there to stop you. It was there to test if you were serious enough to move forward. Breaking through excuses and resistance is not a one-time battle. It is a daily choice. But every time you win that battle, you become stronger, more disciplined, more resilient. And that strength will compound over time until you are living a life that excuses and resistance can no longer touch. That is the life of freedom, the life of purpose, the life of fulfillment. And it begins with you deciding right now to stop letting excuses write your story and start taking back the pen to write it yourself. How small steps create massive transformation is a principle that most people overlook because they have been conditioned to believe that only big leaps matter. We live in a world that celebrates dramatic change, overnight success, and breakthrough moments. But the truth is, every massive transformation you see in someone's life is built on a series of small, consistent, seemingly insignificant steps that compounded over time. The foundation of greatness is not found in the giant leaps, but in the daily disciplines that look ordinary but create extraordinary results. Think about a seed. On the surface, it looks so small, almost irrelevant. You can hold it in your hand and wonder how something so tiny could ever become a tree. But when that seed is placed in the soil and watered consistently day after day, it begins a process that is invisible at first. Roots spread beneath the ground long before a sprout appears. That is what happens in your life when you take small, consistent actions. The change may not be visible right away, but beneath the surface, transformation is already happening. Those steps are creating roots that anchor your growth, and when the time comes, they will produce results far bigger than the size of the seed that started it. The reason small steps are so powerful is because they build momentum. Momentum is the hidden advantage of consistency. Once you start moving in the right direction, even with small actions, you create energy. That energy makes the next step easier and the next step after that until what once felt impossible starts to feel natural. Most people fail not because they cannot achieve big things, but because they underestimate the power of starting small. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect plan, when in reality, what they need is to take the first step and let that step build the momentum that carries them forward. Another reason small steps lead to massive transformation is that they bypass resistance. Big leaps often trigger fear, overwhelm, and self-doubt. The thought of changing your entire life at once feels heavy, so you freeze. but small steps are manageable, they are doable, they are non-threatening to your mind. When you commit to a small action, you disarm the resistance that tries to stop you. And once you complete that action, no matter how small, you send a signal to your brain that says progress is possible. That signal creates confidence, and confidence fuels courage to take the next step. Over time, these small victories build a belief system that says you can change, you can grow, and you can create the life you desire. Consider how transformation happens in your health. You do not need to run a marathon on day one to become fit. You start with walking a few minutes a day. You drink more water. You choose one healthier meal. Each decision feels small in the moment, but over time, those decisions reshape your body, your energy, and your health. The same is true financially. Wealth is rarely created by one big windfall. It comes from saving a little, investing consistently, and making disciplined choices day after day. Those small steps compound until one day you look back and realize you are in a completely different financial reality than where you started. Relationships work the same way. A kind word, a thoughtful action, a consistent effort to listen and support, these small gestures over time create bonds that are unshakable. The mistake many people make is they get impatient. They take a few small steps and expect immediate dramatic change. And when they do not see it right away, they quit. But transformation is not instant. It is progressive. It requires faith in the process. Just like a farmer plants seeds and understands that harvest does not come tomorrow, you must trust that the small steps you are taking are working even if you cannot see the results yet. The harvest is always delayed, but it is always guaranteed for those who keep sowing. Consistency is the bridge between your actions and your results, and patience is the key that keeps you walking that bridge until you reach the other side. What you must understand is that small steps do not just change your circumstances, they change you. Every small step is shaping your character, building your resilience, and strengthening your discipline. When you wake up early one more time, when you practice one more skill, when you choose to push yourself a little further, you are becoming someone new. Transformation is not just about reaching goals, it is about becoming the kind of person who can handle those goals. And small steps are the training ground where that person is developed. The beauty of small steps is that they also create exponential growth. At first, the progress may feel slow, almost invisible. But as those steps stack up, they begin to multiply. Just like compound interest in the financial world, the impact of small, consistent actions compounds in every area of your life. What felt like a slow crawl eventually turns into a steady walk, then a run, and finally a sprint. People around you may look at your results and think it happened all of a sudden, but you will know it was the accumulation of countless small choices made day after day. In 2025, the world will not reward those who simply dream big, but those who are willing to act small and stay consistent. Dreams are valuable because they give you direction, but dreams without daily steps remain fantasies. Your small actions are the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. And that bridge is not built in one day, it is built brick by brick. The good news is you have the power to lay one brick today. You do not need to figure out the entire path. You just need to take the next step in front of you. Over time, those bricks create a path that leads to transformation so massive it looks like a miracle to those who were not there to see the building process. So do not despise small beginnings. Do not discount the power of little actions. Do not believe the lie that unless it is dramatic, it does not matter. The truth is, your future is hidden in the steps you take today. Your destiny is being shaped by the small decisions you are making right now. If you want to change your life, you do not need to wait for a breakthrough. You need to start with a step. And once you take that step, take another and another. And keep going until the compounding effect of those actions turns into a transformation that is undeniable. The question is not whether small steps can create massive transformation. The question is whether you will commit to taking them. The opportunity is already in front of you. The path is already available. The power is already within you. All that is left is for you to start one step today, one step tomorrow, one step the day after. And before long, you will look back and realize that those small steps carried you into a life you once thought was out of reach, but now stands as your new reality. Consistency in 2025, building a future you can be proud of, is not just about routines or habits. It is about making a decision to show up for your life every single day, regardless of how you feel or what the circumstances look like. Because the truth is, success does not come to the most talented or the most gifted. It comes to the ones who have the discipline to stay the course long after the excitement has worn off. And in this year, more than ever, consistency will be the dividing line between those who dream and those who actually build the kind of future they desire. You cannot build a future you are proud of by doing things only when you feel inspired, because feelings are unreliable. They rise and fall with the conditions of the day, and if your commitment depends on how motivated you are, you will never last long enough to see transformation. But if you anchor yourself in consistency, if you decide that rain or shine, tired or energized, ready or reluctant, you will keep showing up, then you give yourself a foundation so strong that no setback, no disappointment, and no delay can stop you from reaching your destination. The beauty of consistency is that it compounds. It turns small daily actions into massive results over time. What looks insignificant in the moment becomes powerful when repeated day after day. Just think of how water shapes a rock, not with one strike, but with continuous pressure over years. The same principle applies to your life. If you commit to consistent action, whether in your health, your finances, your relationships, or your personal growth, the impact will multiply and create a transformation so profound that others will wonder how it happened seemingly overnight. The truth is, there is nothing glamorous about consistency. It is not dramatic, it is not flashy. It often feels ordinary, even boring, and that is why so many people abandon it. They want the excitement of rapid change. They want the thrill of instant results. But greatness is not built in sudden bursts. It is carved out through the steady rhythm of daily dedication. And in 2025, if you want to stand out in a world distracted by trends and quick fixes, your greatest advantage will be your ability to stay consistent when everyone else is chasing the next new thing. Consistency also shapes identity. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, you are proving to yourself that you are reliable, that you can be trusted with your own word, and that self-trust builds confidence, not the kind of confidence that comes from hype or compliments, but the kind that comes from knowing you keep your promises to yourself. And when you build that kind of confidence, you carry it into every area of your life. You stop doubting your ability to finish what you start because you have a track record with yourself that says you can. But here is where many people get it wrong. They think consistency is about perfection. They believe that if they miss a day, if they stumble, if they fail, then it is over. But that is not true. Consistency is not about never falling. It is about refusing to stay down. It is about picking yourself back up and recommitting again and again. Resilience is what gives consistency its real power, because the truth is, you will face setbacks. Life will test you, distractions will tempt you, and obstacles will slow you down. But if you keep coming back, if you keep pressing forward, even in the face of failure, then your consistency cannot be broken. Consistency in 2025 is also about focus, because the world is louder than ever, filled with endless distractions and constant noise. If you are not intentional about where you direct your consistency, you will end up consistent in the wrong things, scrolling every day instead of building every day, consuming instead of creating, wishing instead of working. So the real question is not just will you be consistent, but will you be consistent in the things that move your life forward? Because the wrong consistency leads to regret, but the right consistency builds a future you can be proud of. Think about the kind of future you want to look back on. 10 years from now, when you remember 2025, will you remember excuses, delays, and wasted potential? Or will you remember that this was the year you decided enough was enough, the year you built new habits? The year you kept showing up when no one was watching, the year you finally proved to yourself that you could be the kind of person who does not quit. That choice is in your hands today and every day this year, because the future is not built in the distance, it is built in the decisions you make right now. Consistency is also the greatest equalizer. You may not have the same opportunities as someone else. You may not have the same resources or background, but if you are willing to stay consistent, you can outlast and outgrow those who had more, but did less. Consistency will open doors. Talent alone cannot. And it will keep doors open that luck alone could never sustain, because opportunities are attracted to those who have demonstrated the discipline to show up prepared and when your consistency meets opportunity. That is when people will call you lucky, but you will know it was not luck. It was the result of your daily dedication. So as you step into 2025, do not just set goals, create systems. Do not just dream big, commit to small daily actions. Do not just hope for a breakthrough to off-build. The consistency that guarantees one. Decide today who you want to become, and then align your actions with that vision every single day. Not once in a while, not when it feels good, not when it is convenient, but every day, because That is how you build a life you are proud of. Not through wishing, not through waiting, but through consistent effort stacked over time until the results are undeniable. In the end, consistency is not just about what you achieve, it is about who you become. It turns you into a person of discipline, of resilience, of strength. It shapes your character and it crafts a story you can look back on with pride because you will know that you did not just survive 2025. You built something in it, you created momentum, you laid a foundation for a future you will be grateful for, and when that day comes, when you look back at this year, you will not regret. The effort you gave, you will only regret if you did not give it. So make the choice today to be consistent and build the kind of future that carries your name with honor.